Hello and welcome to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, where stories become lessons and every journey has something to teach us. Every week I sit down with people from all walks of life to hear their adventures, explore their experiences, and uncover the insights that have shaped them along the way. Whether it's from the outdoors, the classroom, or any other path, each conversation offers a fresh perspective on learning, growth, and what it means to truly connect with the world and the people around us. And on this week's episode of the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, we have Kath Pender. Kath, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Just wonderful. Thank you for taking the time to be here with me today. It's very, very kind of you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and who you are?
So I'm Kath. I'm chatting to you from sunny Glasgow at the moment, sunny Govan. And I juggle a few things. I'm an artist. I paint outdoors landscapes mainly. That's changed over the years though. And
Right.
I run workshops, a lot of them outdoor nature-based stuff as well, with a bit of a well-being mental health slant. And I also do outdoor youth work, which is quite rooted in community work with older teenagers. So it sounds like quite an array of things, but they are linked by the outdoors.
I'm definitely going to ask you about the link between all of these things because I
Mhm.
think that's super important. I'd love to hear more about these nature and outdoor workshops, especially as they lean on mental health in the youth, because that is something that I think we could all agree on is critically important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So the workshops basically it's been combining a few strands of work. So for a few years, I was working for a fantastic mental health charity called Commonweal, running their climbing program, which is using climbing as a tool for well-being and and just as a tool for well-being, health, and just feeling better for people living with mental illness. At the same time, I was running art workshops, so usually based out in nature. It can be quite challenging in the Scottish weather.
Right.
And over time, they evolved to come together. So I for Commonweal, also for a couple of other charities, I'll do outdoor based workshops, a lot to do with slowing down and sometimes doing outdoor crafts, using natural materials, and a lot of spending the time really looking, observing, and just spending the time in nature as we tend to sort of crash through it at great speed quite often. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And obviously, this podcast, the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, I'm seeing the value in just spending time outside and trying to
Mhm.
slow down a little bit. Something I've found in my experience is the outdoors itself is wonderful, but it's a tool and
Mhm.
a catalyst for building relationships with people. And so,
Yeah.
how has being outdoors and taking the youth into nature really been able to allow you to connect with them?
I think it's the so many different ways that hence the pause here.
Yes.
So it seems to change the dynamic completely. So with the youth work that I do, I'll first the so it's teenagers, 16, 17-year-olds, and they apply for the project that we do. So the first meetings I have with them will be after reading an application and meeting them briefly at a meeting, either in their school or a Costa coffee. They're always really awkward meetings. Nobody knows anyone.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
this random grown up. As soon as we go out, so we take them for a week long outdoor residential. As soon as you're out and you're in nature, you can have conversations, you can connect with people and build rapport with your group in ways that are completely different to sitting around a table doing face-to-face chat. Um, Conversations about difficult topics can come up really organically as you're walking, or people overcoming challenges through activities. And I think that goes for adults as well. So I've done a lot of sort of outdoor workshops with adults as well. And again, it's doing activities in the outdoor setting that gives people the space and time, I think, to speak about
Mhm.
stuff that would feel quite forced or formal in an indoor setting, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. I've talked about this with other guests, so listeners may be familiar. But I've had the great pleasure to interview a couple of therapists, and
Mhm.
they have started taking clients on walks instead of sitting in an
Yeah,
office, or at least giving the option. We can go for a 1 mile walk instead of sitting in the office for 45
yeah,
minutes. And it's
yeah,
become incredibly popular. This is what
yeah,
people are wanting. They find it easier to open up. She,
yeah.
as a therapist, one of them in particular, uses nature as a metaphor. And it's easy
Mhm.
when you're in it to use it as that metaphor to encourage people to talk and understand what they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just in terms of regulating your nervous system and yeah, that understanding. So yeah, I can absolutely imagine for therapists, it's a huge tool. So yeah.
Yeah, huge tool, and one that thankfully is being embraced by people who may not be getting outdoors otherwise, which I think is
Yes.
just
Yes,
just a
exactly.
wonderful thing. Speaking of being outdoors, I know a very small fraction of this story. You used to live in New Zealand, and I'd love to hear
Oh,
about what took
yes.
you there, because I did a quick, quick deep dive on your website, and it sounds like
Mhm.
an incredible experience.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I went on a bit of a whim.
Right?
So, so I went, when was it? Gosh, it was a lot longer ago than I think. I might be a bit older than I think I am.
Right. Aren't
But,
we all?
but
Yes.
yeah. Do you know, I was working in Glasgow. I was working in kitchens. I was seeing very little daylight and I fancied a change. And I didn't really know much about New Zealand, but by coincidence, a couple of friends had mentioned it, and I thought, well, this sounds great. I'm, and I went over. I thought it's
Mhm.
a long distance to go for just a holiday. Takes a while to save up the cash
Indeed.
for that. And so I checked out working holiday, realized I could just sneak in the very last year of being 30 on a
Right.
working holiday visa and went there and landed on my feet basically.
Right.
I had done a little bit of chefing work on the Crinan Canal here in Scotland
Mhm.
and on a puffer boat, the Vic 32, and the stoker was from New Zealand. And he gave me a pointer of what company to go to for work. So I pitched up in New Zealand with a little scrap of paper with someone's name on it.
Right.
Turned up at a boat and said, "Any jobs?" And they said, "No, we don't, but would you like to stow away in this boat for an afternoon, an afternoon trip? And we
Lovely.
can give you some names of people to contact." And yeah, and I found myself working in Fjordland National Park on an overnight boat. So visitors would come overnight and go kayaking, and I was the chef on board, so I would cook for 70 people every night, and I absolutely loved it.
I mean, it
It's yeah.
does sound, I mean, hard work, long hours. Chefing is a difficult profession, but it sounds like a wonderful experience.
Yes, it was incredible. And I ended up staying instead of 1 year, I ended up staying just over 7 years.
Right.
Um, I have my residency now, so the door is open for being able to go back and forth. And
Lovely.
yeah, so yeah, so my New Zealand chapter is not necessarily over, and I've got a lot of absolutely fantastic people there who, yeah, who mean a lot to me. So,
And you've
yeah.
mentioned, of course, it's a long haul. It's an expensive long haul. Have you
Yep.
managed to get back since you returned from the 7 years?
Yes,
Yes, good.
only once. So I
Right,
went over at the start of last year, and that was fantastic. It reminded me of all the incredible things that New Zealand is and what all the people are. And yeah, and it reminded me as well of how much of that I've brought back over to my life here in Scotland and the
right.
influence that's had on my outdoors life and my artwork as well. It's been really significant. So yeah.
I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to develop that a little bit. I'd love to hear what you brought back consciously or subconsciously, from your time in New Zealand.
Yeah. Do you know what I think the biggest difference is the impact of just being immersed in absolutely incredible wild scenery the whole time. So I lived in quite a remote place, Milford Sound, and even once I'd finished work there, I was still in very sort of scenic mountainous locations. And the scope for just going out and doing things is huge. And the outdoors is a really integrated part of lifestyle there. It's not like the separation that it sometimes is here, where it's like, oh, I'm going to do an outdoorsy thing. It just is
Right.
life. And I think when I came back to Scotland, I realized how many incredible adventures there are here that I'd probably missed. And it might be that cliche of you have to go very far away to appreciate what's on your doorstep.
I know that cliche well.
Yeah, I can imagine you do. So,
Yes.
so
Yeah, that's
yeah.
very interesting. It's something I think about a lot because where I am, I'm in a quite densely populated
Mhm.
area. I mean, you do have to make almost a conscious effort to get outside.
Yeah.
It's house to car to work to car to house,
Yeah.
unless you make it a conscious choice to break that cycle.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be quite easy to be because I live in a city as well, of course, and it can be
Right.
quite easy to be in that routine. But yeah, I can. And yeah, has it made you see Scotland differently as well? Just sorry to throw a question back at
No,
you.
it absolutely does. I consider myself very fortunate because born in Scotland, raised in Scotland. That's where my roots are. That's where my family
Mhm.
is. But I also get to see it through a tourist's eyes in the sense that I'm,
Yeah.
living here, bringing Kate back, things like that. I get to
Yeah.
almost. It's not playing tour guide, but it has given me a new appreciation for many things
Yeah.
and been very thankful for it. Which I think, as you have done, you need to step away from it sometimes to go. God, this really is a great place. Like,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
everywhere else, it has its ups and downs, but there's no better place to be from, in
Yes.
my humble personal opinion.
Yes. Well, I mean, I'm very biased and I fully agree with you.
Right. Well, speaking of, I'm assuming that this trip in New Zealand influenced this, but you've hiked the Cape Wrath Trail, which is not an
Not yet,
or
not
is that
yet. I've
coming up?
still
Is
to
that
do
coming up?
so. I've
Right.
still to
Okay.
do so.
Talk to me
Yes.
about this plan because this is not, from my knowledge, a well marked, trail with lots of things on the way. You are quite,
Mhm.
it's quite remote and rugged. What is bringing this about?
Well, it was, do you know what is my
Yeah,
Cape Wrath journey has had an
yes,
quite a lengthy journey before I've actually set foot on on the
that's right,
trail.
right.
So I initially, when I first heard of it, I thought this sounds a fantastic challenge. So wild, remote, um, I don't cover many miles in a day when I'm walking. I'm a fairly steady walker and I don't
Right,
feel the need to set speed records. So I thought, well, this could be, up to a month of potentially very challenging, but also very, very remote and beautiful. And
right,
I started planning it in the year that COVID started. So
right.
I was all set to go. and then COVID hit and nobody was going anywhere.
Right.
And particularly in Glasgow, nobody was going anywhere for a very long time. Our lockdown lasted, I think it was the longest in the UK.
Right.
Um, so I thought, well, I'll walk it straight after that. And then various life events got in the way. So yeah, so well, there was some family things. I know you're aware my dad was very ill for a
Hmm.
while. And then um, I became ill from Lyme disease.
Right.
And so now things have settled and life is looking different. And I have May off. The reason I'm not walking it this year is quite simply because at the tail end of summer, the amount of midges, the amount of ticks,
Right.
and also a lot of the land that is that you cross is a lot of it is deer stalking land, which there will be some shooting restrictions, and the finish line is an MOD firing range, which can be quite active in autumn.
I do love
So,
the image of you crossing I know there's not exactly a finish line, but crossing the finish line and some sort of mortar shells flying over your head.
yeah.
That would be
Yeah,
quite
so
nice.
for all those reasons, May is my proposed start date. I have a month off work and I have the route. I have well, bit of time to work in my fitness, but generally I will just set off and take it at my own pace.
Good for
And
you.
yeah, very much looking forward to it. If it's probably far enough away that I'm fully looking forward to it, I'll be getting nervous closer to the time.
Absolutely. I walked there's the longest, I don't know if it still is, it was the longest footpath in Texas. It's called the Lone Star Trail, about 100 miles
Oh
or
wow.
so. And there's windows that you are highly encouraged to not be on the trail. And if you are, you legally have to wear like almost like high vis things because it's in the middle of hunting season
Oh wow,
and all
yeah.
of that. So almost every hiker you talk to says, don't do it because you can wear all the high vis stuff you like. You know, if there's shots going on around you because it's
Yeah.
deer hunting season, all of that stuff.
I mean, that really puts a whole new spin on going for a lovely, challenging walk. That's no longer
Right.
about your own personal challenge. That's about, trusting other human beings not to take a shot
Exactly.
at you.
Exactly. And I would rather not take that gamble. So,
No, no,
no.
that's not really, yeah, that's not the kind of risk I'm
Yeah.
keen on either.
No, no, I did it well after the season for deer had finished. Um,
Yeah.
so I'd love to talk to you a little bit about your art and how you, I
Mhm.
think, got into art. But obviously, it's a skill that you have honed and developed over the years, and is now
Mhm.
your living in many ways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's yeah, I guess I always absolutely loved drawing and yeah, then decided to apply for art school and yeah, went up to art school after school
Hmm.
and ever since then have yeah, I've just been continuing with it. It's evolved a lot over the years. So when I've always had a studio. I've inhabited some very odd corners of Glasgow and in New
Right.
Zealand as well that have I always had a studio, always had an art practice. But initially it was very much about the urban landscape and urban environment.
Right.
So a lot of footprints and brickwork, and that changed slowly. It changed slowly the more I started heading into the hills because I was a bit of a late starter with hill walking. Only
Right.
really
Right.
discovered that there were hills I think once I'd come back from art school actually.
Right.
Um, and yeah, and then the years in New Zealand as well just meant that mountains became the main focus of my work. But it's very much about the feeling of the place and the environment rather than just a direct representation of the place.
It's
So,
interesting you
yeah.
bring that up because I'm going to make an assumption here, and if the answer is it doesn't, is just fine. But I
Mhm.
kind of got the feeling that Glasgow has probably influenced your art? Because it has such a distinct personality as a city,
Yeah.
the architecture, the people, the humor, the history, all of
Yes.
those things. So I was curious if and how that may have influenced your art.
Yeah, do you know what? I've I've spent most of, I suppose, bar New Zealand and studying, I have spent most of my life and adult life in Glasgow. And as you say, it's
Mhm.
so distinctive, and it's a collection of villages, and the creativity and the diversity is fantastic. So I think it has continually influenced it in terms of the earlier work was always about walking through the city and seeing traces and speaking to people when you're I do a lot of drawing on location, and it's interesting when you're out in the hills doing drawing on location, people will sometimes stop to say hello or maybe sort of quietly peer over your shoulder and carry on walking. You do this in Glasgow, you are without a doubt going to meet a lot of people.
Yes.
So I don't think there's many Glaswegians that are afraid of coming up and saying what you doing or what's that meant to be.
Right.
So,
Something lovely and warm like that. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So I think all those layers of people and place and identity um absolutely come through in all the landscape work as well. And that's where it's very much about place rather than just the rocks or the view that's in front of you.
Right.
Um
Funny you
yeah.
bring up the people who may come and peer over your shoulder because I'm kind of hoping it's not just me. I'm assuming people might come up to you, see your artwork, and say something along the lines of, "Oh, I could never do that. I wish I could do that."
Mhm.
What do you say to people who have never attempted? I say attempted art. Certainly
Yeah.
as an adult, they haven't drawn since they were in school, and they're kind of curious about dipping their toe into it. What would you
Mhm.
say to them?
Do you know what? That's a brilliant question because it's one that I get a lot and in a lot of workshops as well. I get a lot of oh, I'm not creative, I can't do this. And I don't know at what age that gets sort of stamped out of people.
Hmm.
Because when you see kids, I mean, kids are so proud of what they've drawn, are clamoring for you to admire it.
Right, right,
And then at some point it changes. And I think so something that I do often in workshops if people say, "Oh, I can't draw at all," is I say just start drawing a couple of little squares on a bit of paper. Find a leaf or find a little flower or find any, even just a blade of grass from your local park and try and draw that outline in the little square in your sketchbook. So break it down into tiny little pieces. You don't need to draw a huge big thing straight
right,
away. Or look at the patterns or and just do simple little things like that, or find a color of a leaf and try and match that color on a piece of scrap paper. And
right,
the other thing I always say to people is have a sketchbook, just a little scrappy little notebook that can fit into your pocket. And instead of doing that thing we all do, which is if you have a moment of downtime, scroll through your phone,
yeah,
um, instead of that, pull your little notebook out your pocket and just sketch whatever's in front of you. And that can be, just the pattern on something, or it can be, you can go grand with it as well, but don't be precious about it. All my
right,
sketchbooks, I'm always very happy to show all my sketchbooks because some of the drawings are absolutely abysmal and it's great. That's how you get good drawings.
right.
So,
You
so
have to start somewhere. Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's nothing that drives the fear into people more than a large piece of blank paper that says, this must be a perfect piece of artwork. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah.
can lose the perfection and play with it a little and see what comes out of it.
I think that's what I mean. That's a good sort of a line you could use in all aspects of life, just losing the perfection, which will allow you
Yes.
to move
Yeah, it really
forward.
would be.
I was also thinking when I was, preparing for this interview, you must spend a lot of time sort of talking about art and teaching people, but what's art taught you? If you kind of step back from your life and you think, where would my
Oh,
life be without art? And what has it given me? What's it taught you?
oh gosh.
Putting
That's
you
a
on the spot.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. That's brilliant because I don't know if I've ever really slowed down to think about that. And as soon as you said, what has that given you, or what would it
Mhm.
be like without it? It's it's everything. It's
Right,
absolutely everything. I didn't realize quite how deep that went. Um, it's given me a way of seeing the world, a way of trying to understand the world,
right.
um, a way of trying to communicate because communication isn't all, standard verbal. It isn't, it's visual language as a whole different language, and it's given immense amounts of joy. I can get so excited
Yes.
about colors.
What a
Just
beautiful thing that is to get excited
Yeah,
about colors.
really is. Sometimes in the studio, if I've just mixed a color of a particularly intense blue, it'll be an absolute thrill, the same way as if you see a blue sky out there. So yeah, it's given me a lot, and a means of communicating thoughts and emotions to people as well, which is pretty, yeah, which is a lot
I
is the
good.
short
I
answer.
love that. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's just such an interesting world to me because I don't know much about art in a sort of
Mhm.
academic sense, but I can look at a piece and there are some pieces I'll have no reaction to, and then other
Mhm.
ones for some reason, and I don't understand it, will get you. They'll get those
Yeah.
feelings going.
Yeah, and that's the fantastic thing about it. And everyone will be completely different. And
Right,
there's loads of artworks that I can really appreciate from a technical point of view. And
right.
I respect them and I understand them and I think they're fantastic. And then there's others that are just, they hit you emotionally. And I don't think we need to understand that. I think,
I
yeah.
I agree. I think it's beautiful to not dig into that too much and just
Yeah.
let those feelings and emotions be.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, as we kind of round the corner here to kind of wrap up this interview, I did warn you I'd have
Mhm.
three questions for you.
Yes.
The first one is, what does success look like to you, and how has that changed, if indeed it has, over the years?
Mm, Success to me is defined as having what you need and the people that you love and care about being well. That's
Beautiful.
that's that's success. So to me, being able to do work that I enjoy would be nice for them to be slightly more lucrative, but
Right, right,
Um, or maybe even just financially stable career choices would be
right.
good. But yeah, success would be being able to being able to live the kind of life that you want to live. And in my case, that's a creative and outdoorsy one.
I love it. You've got a beautiful bookshelf behind you, and I wanted to ask you about what book has perhaps had the most impact on your life. It's not necessarily the best book,
Oh,
but one that has been particularly impactful on your life.
do you know, I don't know if I could choose just one. That's
Right?
so difficult, so
This ha
difficult.
this happens quite a bit where people suddenly three or four come to their mind. So you could just
Yeah.
choose one of them with the understanding that there is actually several.
Okay, well, I would say one of them would be, let's see, I'll stick with the outdoorsy one then. Actually,
Right.
there's a out of my line of sight, there's a whole bookcase of amazing graphic novels as well. So
Lovely.
that's but one book I think which I first got into wandering up hills with is quite an old book. It's by Alasdair Borthwick called Always a Little Further. And it's an account of the very first sort of hill walkers and climbers that hitchhiked their way out of Glasgow to head up to Alasdair and, do some pretty rough and ready sleeping in barns and then going climbing the next day. And there was something about that sense of adventure that I loved. And one of my first outdoor adventures was to photocopy, this is how old school
Right.
it was, photocopy a page out of the book that described some caves up by Arachar, go on the description in the book and this soggy little photocopy to find these caves and spend the night in them. And that was
That's
yeah.
tremendous. It's funny. I've just finished listening to another podcast just a week or two ago about it was the first two people to drive from coast to coast in America. And the
Oh,
adventure, and I
wow.
guess there's a documentary, there's stuff on these people out there. And it really
Mhm.
did make me realize we've lost so much of that, that sense of
Yeah.
adventure because it's all been done, it's documented. And
Yeah.
so I do love reading about the firsts. Uh, so
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I've written this name down, and we'll need to look this book up.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, for me it just it's early adventure. That's what it signifies. Yeah.
I love it. Well, my final question for you is, and I don't believe this is your medium, but if you could sit down and paint somebody's portrait for the day, and you could have them at your disposal to ask any questions, to ask them about anything and everything you would want. Now, this could be somebody who has passed away, somebody who's alive, somebody famous, somebody anyone who has ever existed. Who would you love to spend a day with? Paint them or paint with them, and you get to tap into their mind.
Oh, oh, now how long do I have to think of
Yeah,
this?
you can think as long as you want. I will let you know, previous guests, they've gone on a huge range of tangents,
Yeah.
from close loved ones to, I can say this because it's been long enough. They told me off air they would actually want to sit down with Hitler because
Oh, wow.
they would want to understand where such evil came from,
Yeah,
and
that's
understand how to never allow that to turn into something. What could they
yeah.
do to try and turn, which I thought was a fascinating
Yeah, that is
perspective.
fascinating.
And then
Yeah.
we've had everything in between. My guest a week or two ago wanted a TV celebrity who loves nature, Steve Irwin, the great Australian, who's no
Mhm.
longer with us. So yeah, a whole range of
Yeah.
people. So it just
Yeah.
depends where your mind goes.
Well, I'll describe what my mind rattled through. Still haven't
Right.
quite settled, but maybe in explaining I will find someone. When you said painting portrait, then the first my one of my first thoughts was also loved ones that are gone because I've somehow found myself to be one of the I think we're pretty much the oldest generation in my family now, which I feel like I'm far too young for that.
Right.
So I have lots of, I would very much love to sit down and draw a portrait of my mum and
Right.
ask her all the questions that I couldn't ask. She passed away when I was about 24, I think. So
Yes.
yes, so lots and lots of questions there, I think. And then immediately rattled through lots of incredible women in the outdoors and amazing artists as well. But I think I would have to just, yeah, settle back to my mum.
And I think that's a beautiful place to end this podcast because I've got, of course,
Yeah,
very fond memories and her stories and left to live on through my mum and the stories told.
absolutely. And
Yes.
I appreciate that so much as well. Honestly, it means so much to me. It really, really does. So, yeah.
Means a lot to me too. It's wonderful. If people have questions they would like to ask you about your travel, about art,
Mhm.
especially in Scotland, where could they find you?
So Kath Pender art on Instagram or Facebook or my website, which is also kathpenderart.com. I'm not always great at updating everything, but I am active there and yes, and I would be delighted to chat with anyone about anything. I'm quite approachable, I think, or at least I like chatting.
I think so. I can vouch for you. You are as
Thank
approachable
you.
as they come. Well, Kath, thank you very much for this time today. This has been just tremendous.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciated.
Thank you again to this week's guest, and I hope today's episode was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and perhaps even inspired your next adventure. If you did enjoy the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find more information at theoutdoorseyeducator.com or follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Outdoorsy Educator Podcast.